Pretend I just shot that guy. Bang! Man, Skeletor did not hold up since the 80s. Not my best work, but you get it.
Devil May Cry. I just finished that. That was great. You did great.
Thanks, man. Thanks for checking that.
I emailed you and I was like, yeah, man, I know you're gonna knock it out of the park, and you did. You did really great. It's my first experience with the world of Devil May Cry, and I find it so interesting that you actually originally auditioned for Dante for the Devil May Cry games. And I'm curious, from what you can remember, because I know the Devil May Cry games have been out for a very long time. How did your voice that you originally auditioned with for Dante change for the show?
Well, when I auditioned for DMC 3, it was to do the motion capture as well. So it was, they needed somebody who could physically do the motions and action as well as the voice or whatever, right? And so it was the chance to play Dante, but you'd go to Japan and do all the motion capture. And so I didn't get it then. And it wasn't until 4 when I auditioned for a new character in Devil May Cry, who ends up becoming basically the lead of that. He's basically a young Dante. And Itsuno-san, who's, had basically produced and it was in control of all that, felt like he had ran out of ideas with Dante. They felt like they did the most they could in DMC3. He's very overpowered already, and so you kind of need to somehow find a way to shave that down so a new audience has some, and the character has some growth. And so we got this other character, Nero, who was essentially a young Dante.
Tough guy, huh? Well, yeah.
Which was my big problem when I was working on it in Japan. Shimomura-san is the action director. I remember going up to him and saying, hey, look, I don't know what I'm doing. I feel like every dialogue piece and everything's exactly like Dante, and of course he's Japanese, right? And he speaks some English, but I'm like rambling on all these like, should I do this or should I do that? And he's like, stops me. He's like, Johnny, you are Nero. And just kind of walks away. And then I'm like, oh, okay, I don't know what that means really, but I think I need to own the role, and just do what is true to the character in the moments. And what I felt going through that character was just the emotional change. Like he's very young and naive and emotional, really, just in general. Like he's a young kid. Dante is different. I think the hardest part for me was in going in to play this version of Dante was that he is younger, and so I'm like, well, this is going to be tonally very similar. And I went through all the cinematics, the game cinematics, and I watched the original anime, and I'm like, well, in various ones, he's older, his tone is different, and I actually redubbed all of DMC3, like 4 or 5 different ways. I just went through and I dubbed it over. I did what was done, and then I did my version of a few different ways, and then I found some characteristics in the voice, but it wasn't the same because it's not the same. Like our version of Dante is younger. He's not as experienced. There are certainly similarities, but I can't do what I was hearing unless we get through a few things for the character. Like the character has to go through some stuff to be able to become that character that people are familiar with from the games, which I feel like doing only 8 episodes is not enough to get to that point. And I'm like, we're not quite there yet. We need a few seasons to get to even what I want to play, So it's a starting point, really. So I think that's a long way of answering your question. It's a long road to answer it. I'm not even sure if I answered it. It's a journey, really. This character is going to be a journey. And hopefully we get enough seasons out of him to be able to, go through. There's so much. Like I have so much written down, like in my study of the character, and then realizing, well, it opens up the character a bit more, him being younger and not really knowing certain things. And so to try to like I can't do what even I'm familiar with from Ruben, because I worked with him, and seeing how he would play the character. I can't do exactly that, not yet, I can't do things like that yet, basically. So, anyways, it was a lot of fun though. It's a lot of fun. So hopefully we get more out of it.
100% agree. I know there were some criticisms of how
Yeah,
Dante is in the show, but I kind of view it. I always viewed it as what you were saying, and even watching the interview with you guys at Collider, um, Eddie was talking about, this is a starting point for these characters. They're younger. This is it's we have to just wait. So just
yeah.
wait. We just gotta
Well, I
wait
mean,
to get to
it's
the.
not. I mean, it is younger, but it's also. I mean, it's different. It's not one to one with the games. First off, um, but yeah, I can really speak to my character, although I do know some of the other characters and where they are at. But for mine specifically, there's a lot of notes to be taken. It's like, all right, well, he's raised by his mother, right? So that's going to make him vulnerable to certain things, and he's also, doesn't know. I mean, he finds out, but he doesn't know really in the beginning who he is. He knows he's got these superhuman abilities, but for all he knows, this is what's been given to him to be able to combat these things. So there's a lot of these things you have to think about, and maybe he lets his guard down around women more so. So there's a lot of things that you think about as an actor. It's like, well, who is this person? Why is he making these choices? Does he get bored? Yeah, he does get bored at certain things. Does that mean that he allows himself to get into situations out of boredom? We haven't. I mean, they say stuff like he quit things because he's bored, but we've yet to see those kind of things. I'm boring you right now. You're yawning
Oh
with my
no, I'm not.
conversation, but
No,
but
no,
anyway,
no.
this is just the things that you go through as you like, especially if it's not something like it's kind of new. So you kind of like gather up like all this kind of. Again, I always say like an arsenal, but it's like, I have all of this weaponry that I can choose from. And, when the story is laid out, it's like, what am I allowed to choose and use based on what's in front of me? So projective, I already know where he's going to go, and I kind of already know where the story outlines, so of course I know a lot more than people online know about, the story. And so
Yeah.
that doesn't mean it won't change or can't change. What I find interesting though is that a lot of people that have only played like one game or aren't super familiar, they dig it. They've really enjoyed it.
I have to. I've never played the game, and I genuinely like had such a fun time with this show. And it's so interesting because I'm just seeing so much of the dialogue online, and I'm trying to get into people's heads. I've been asking all of my friends who play Devil May Cry, like, what did you not enjoy? Because me personally, I really liked it. Like, I had so
Yeah.
much fun. I love what you added to Dante in this series. I love your dynamic with like Lady is so cool. Like, you guys together, I really want to see that bond grow. Like, I really love what was established
Yeah.
here. So it's so, like you said, I don't know if it's because I didn't play the games. I don't know what it is, but I don't know. I just really like this, and I really can't wait. Hopefully, I'm hoping that Netflix is like, hey, I mean, it's trending really well, so Netflix would be stupid not to.
Yeah, I mean, I think as far as numbers, they're pretty happy with the way things are
That's
going,
good.
But it does. I do actually understand where some of the fans are coming from because they want it to be exactly the same as the games. But that also leaves us kind of locked into a certain thing. And doesn't allow us to explore different things in the character, because then, really, like if it's you've already got a Dante that's OP, and throughout, I want to see him become that, like, or
I
at least
agree.
for me to be able to play that, to be able to get to that point is going to be so much more rewarding than if he's already that way, we have the 2007 anime, which I enjoy as well, but
I gotta check that out
it's
too.
very much like this kind of, well, the monster of the week. Yeah, you got this monster, you got to defeat that. Yeah, and so each one is like that, and it's like, all right, that's okay, but it doesn't really give your character a lot of growth. One thing I will say, and I know I got to go here too. I've got another interview coming up, but
Oh, okay.
is at the end of the anime, the 2007 anime, there was this it looked like still images of Dante sitting there like drinking, right? But then I noticed the fan is spinning, and then there's a song playing that doesn't feel like a song from Devil May Cry would that it would even fit in this world, but it works. It's like, I think it's called "I'll Be Your Home" or something like that, and so it speaks so much into like what he's feeling in those moments, how alone he is, and how much pain he has gone through to get to who he is in those moments. We never got to see him get to that point, and so that's what I feel like will be really cool. Sorry, this thing keeps cutting out.
You're good.
That to get to that point will be much more, a lot more fun for me to play than to already be there and be like, oh, yeah, okay, he went through some dark things, and that's he. But I want to see that stuff. You know what I mean? Like I want to see that, and you do see it you see glimpses of it, of course, with his brother and some of his flashbacks, but you don't really get to see him experience, you know, um, people, leaving him or abandoning him and that sort of stuff, and he's felt like he's failed, even save to protect his mom. So he's got this like kind of like desire to protect humans as well. So there's a lot of this in there that he's battling with this, and then now that he knows that he's part demon, he's got to deal with that internally as well. So it'll be an interesting journey if we can get through a few more seasons for sure. I enjoyed it. I
100%.
had a lot of fun, and I know that I want to get Ruben and Dan in on this at some point too.
Yeah.
Talk to them about it. Ruben moved off to Japan though. He's doing his thing, but
Oh, I didn't. That's
yeah, yeah,
crazy.
he's got his thing going on over there. But we're gonna drag him back though, I'm sure. I'd love to see another game, but
I would too,
my
man.
concern is the way that some of the DMC fans, like the way they react initially to things is always kind of like a,
Like
you
a
know,
shock.
yeah, it's like even with
Yeah.
Nero, it's like, no, we hate this guy. It took like 2 years for them to warm up to him, and then even like 5, it was like they didn't like the way that the characters looked at first. Um, the gameplay usually is what wins them over. Even with DMC3, it was like, oh, he's too young, he's flamboyant. What's going on? But then the gameplay and the story was awesome, so they're like, okay. So hopefully in some time will pass and we'll get a few more seasons under our belt and people will warm up to this new iteration. Maybe they won't. Um,
Only
what
time will
bothers me is
tell.
when I hear both things, like people say, and I'm rambling, but
You
I
get.
didn't like people saying that the show was going to be woke before even seeing it, and then afterwards calling it right-wing propaganda. So it's like, well, what is it? It's like, come on. It's like it almost felt like some people just want to attack it, or attack people that like it, and that really bothers me,
I
because
100% agree. I hate where we are in a culture right now where people could just throw those labels around and be so hateful and mean and rude and not really understand the meat of the story that you guys are trying to tell. I hate that. Even with the new Assassin's Creed game, people were attacking it. They're like, "Oh, it's woke. They got this black and I'm just like, "Bro, can y'all play the game, judge it
yeah,
for yourself and see what's going to happen? Let's stop this reactionary like we were just talking about. That shocks. Let's stop that shock and experience it. Play the game. If you don't like it, fine. At least you played the game. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like we see all these pushbacks with actors. Even I know Troy Baker got a lot of hate for The Last of Us Part 2. And now with the show coming out, I'm seeing a lot of love for The Last of Us
it's
Part
real
2.
strange. It's a new, it's kind of where the culture is, where we are right now. Is to it's a strange place to be, and I don't really like. I don't know. I guess I'm not that, like, I don't really go, I just go on and I'm like, hey, this was fun. But me saying, hey, this was fun is going to make somebody say, no, you're wrong. And it's like, but I can still enjoy it, I'm like,
Yeah.
and it's okay for you to feel that way and have your opinion. But man, like, I don't know. I guess I'm a bit old school. I'm more of like, yeah, I'm just doing this as an actor. And it's a fun ride. It's a fun character to play. And I'm just trying to like, be this character in this moment. And I didn't expect it to like, rub somebody the wrong way,
Right.
and I feel like, man, I'm sorry that you didn't like it, but please don't attack people that do, you're allowed to have it. And I don't know. I think we're reading into it more than it should be. It's just a show, you know,
It's a
it's just a
show. It's just a
show,
game.
you
It's just
know?
another thing to add to your
Yeah.
day.
But I guess
Um,
they have been wronged. They've been wronged in some things. So I do also at the same time. That's my problem is I can always see both sides of a coin, you know, and I can
yeah, 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 yeah.
see. Yeah, they've some things have been done wrong and other things, but you know, give us a little more time.